In this video, we're going to talk about one of the key pillars to any agency, but especially young and startup agencies, and that's market positioning. We see a lot of agencies that are competing with a very similar, a very broad position, right? That they do full service, or they're marketing against results or awards or client logos or pricing. Pricing is never something you want to market against, by the way. It's just a race to the bottom. But in reality, these types of positioning, right, in terms of what your brand is standing on, really only work for agencies that have been in the market for a while, that have the reputation. And the truth is that as a smaller and younger agency, the only way that you can stand out, especially because it's competitive out there, there's a lot of agencies and consultants, you have to specialize. You have to specialize in solving a specific problem for a specific type of client. You've already heard me talk about this before, problem solving. That's what this game is all about. And the more specific you can get in terms of who you're solving for, that's what market positioning is all about. What problem are you solving and for who? And then we'll get into designing an offer and putting it a service to actually deliver on what that positioning is. And as I said, most young agencies make the mistake of trying to do too much, right? You get your first client and they're like, hey, Ryan, hey, you're doing a great job with our SEO or email marketing. Can you do our social media? Can you do TikTok for us? And what ends up happening is you scale horizontally, right? You keep on tacking on all these additional services to try and service that client. But what ends up happening is that you become a jack of all trades and a master of none, right? And what I mean by that specifically is that you're not really helping them solve a problem, because what you're doing is you're creating more problems for yourself. If you don't have systems and processes to do email marketing, it's a complete waste of your energy to go out and try and find a contractor or to build processes or build it on the fly, when in reality, what you should be doing is focusing on scaling vertically, which means continuously driving deeper into that market positioning and doing one thing and one thing only until you've built enough of a track record, you've built enough of a team for people to help you out to deliver new services and launch new arms. And the thing is too, is that the allure of full service is really only when you work and build a relationship with a client and they trust you and they want to do more stuff. But when it comes to attracting clients and new leads, they want to work with a specialist. Put yourself in their shoes, right? If you are an attorney, for example, would you rather hire a company that does everything and works with everyone and they've got a huge client list and all these awards and stuff like that? Or would you want to go with a firm that only works with attorneys? Their entire client list is only attorneys, and they specialize in solving one problem, which is just acquisition. They help attorneys get more leads. You're going to go with the specialist, we already know. And by being that specialist, you have a little pillar to stand on because you can stand out against the competition. That's what this is all about. It's about positioning yourself as an expert and positioning yourself and cornering the market for you to be able to bring in clients and close them a lot faster, and then also deliver the service a lot easier, which we'll talk about in a second. And you can always scale into a full service model, but you have to start by mastering a vertical and service and pain point first. And we're going to talk all about that as we get through this training. Now, a lot of times it's a little bit scary to only focus on servicing one vertical or one type of client, because you feel like you're cutting off your legs, right? If somebody comes in and they're not within that vertical, what do? You just turn away the business. And I have to cover these points because I really want to drive home to you that this is the right decision. This is the right decision. This is the right decision for you. Trust me, I've done this a million times before. I've seen it play out in the market before. I've helped thousands of agencies get through this, and trust me, by specializing, it's going to make things easier. Number one, because you stand out. When you have a clear position, you clearly define who you are and the value that you offer your clients, right? Like I said, going back to the attorney example, if you only work with attorneys and you specialize in helping them solve that one problem, you're going to have a much easier time differentiating yourself against the agency that does everything for everyone, right? It also helps you establish authority, right? You can clearly become that one person or that one agency who specializes in that one thing. You see it on LinkedIn all the time. Brendan Hufford, who's one of our coaches here in the Blueprint, he specializes in B2B SaaS. And just by talking about that on LinkedIn, literally just on LinkedIn by posting status updates, he's generated over $1 million in revenue just by doing that. And he's established himself as the authority in that space. People now look to him, they come to him, and they trust him for advice around B2B SaaS SEO. And he's able to build a massive pipeline by just talking about that and establishing himself as the authority. But if he was talking about all these other different things, first of all, when we talk about algorithms and social media, they want to highlight people who are talking about the same thing over and over again, because they've established themselves as credible in that space. They're getting engagement. People want to see that, as opposed to if you just go on LinkedIn or any social media, you just start talking about a whole bunch of different things, you're never really going to get traction. And it's really the same thing with business. You want to establish yourself as a credible authority in the space by specializing in one thing and solving one type of problem. It makes acquisition a lot easier. getting new clients, targeting your marketing campaigns. Like I said, even just posting on social media. Again, if you're just spraying and praying all sorts of different messaging, it's never going to get traction. It's never going to reach the right audience. You can build a track record too. So again, if you're only working with attorneys want to see that you've helped other attorneys out. So you're building a track record with their peers. And then when you build a track record with their peers, again, it's easier to stand on top of those case studies and those results, but also to ask them for referrals to become a source of excellence for you to refer other people in that are similar in need to help. There's less competition. When you specialize and you specialize in one thing only, you're kind of creating a market of one when it comes to certain things. And also down the line, if you ever want to get your agency acquired, specializing in something really, really helps quite a bit. This is a huge one for me, which we'll talk about a little bit later in this training series, which it makes operations a lot easier. It reduces your costs and redundancies when you're doing the same thing over and over again. So what we're going to talk to you about also is a productized service, which essentially means you build systems and processes around your service, and it makes it a lot easier to deliver because you're doing the same thing over and over again. It makes hiring people a lot easier, it makes getting results a lot easier. And when you're trying to do all these different things for all these different people, if you're doing email and pay-per-click and web design for an attorney and an e-commerce shop, these are all different businesses in themselves. In delivering that is a nightmare. It is not something that you want to have to do, especially if you're just getting started. But if you're doing one thing for one type of client, you can literally use a checklist, one single SOP to run your service. And that makes one less thing to worry about, because not only are you going to be much more efficient, much more effective, and much more profitable, but the results are going to be better because you're constantly doing the same thing over and over again, which allows you, which is what Six Sigma is to look at redundancies and efficiencies and continuously improve your process. But you can only do that if you have a process. And if you're working with a million different clients on a million different services, you can't build processes. It's a pipe dream. So specializing, it makes operations 100 times easier. Hiring reduces the amount of roles, highly specialized, single focus workforce. Again, at our agency, we only have 2 roles. We do over $1 million a year and we only have 2 roles. And that's because we do one thing and one thing only, just like they say in what's that Will Ferrell movie? I'm going to skate to one song and one song only. And that's all we do. And that allows us to bring in much cheaper people with less experience, which makes it more profitable for us. And also we can bring those people in, train them, and actually give them a career and a path in the space that we operate in. And also, this is a huge one for me. PIA stands for pain in the ass factors. It allows you to pull yourself out of the business eventually and focus on moving big rocks, right? You don't want to have a pain in the ass business. You don't want to have something that's a nightmare. You're pulling your hair out. And when you have a clear, it all starts with a clear position. It all starts with a clear position, a good, solid, easy to manage, less stressful business. Business is stressful no matter what, but a less stressful business, it starts with a good position. So let's talk about a few different ways to position your agency. So if you're in Facebook groups, which a lot of you probably are, you've been in trainings like this before, they always say like niche or niche, whatever, right? Select a niche, select the niche, select the niche. That's just one positioning strategy. What I'm going to present to you is 4 different ways, because again, this is so important. You really want to think through this. And within our full program, the Blueprint Training, this is something that we work with you on one-on-one to really solidify your position. We got workbooks, we got a whole bunch of things that we put you through that really help you to drill into what the right positioning is for you and for your agency. So the first one is to position based on industry, right? So B2B, SaaS, e-commerce, local, right? A good example is this agency Inflow. They specialize in e-commerce marketing, right? It's all over their website. Definitely check it out. Goinflow.com. They have a clear position on the industry that they service. That's option number 1. Number 2 is what I call niche. So things like coffee shops, CrossFit gyms, lawyers, home supply stores, right? They're not quite in industry. Like a coffee shop is not an industry, but it's a niche within an industry. A CrossFit gym is not quite like gyms, it's a niche within a gym. And again, the more that you go down, the more that you niche, the faster you'll get traction getting started. And you can always go up market too, right? A good example of this is Rankings.io. Rankings is a friend of mine, Chris Dreyer. He started by only going after personal injury attorneys for SEO. That was it. No other types of attorneys. He would refer out, if you were an immigration attorney, he would refer you out to somebody else. He didn't care. He only did personal injury attorneys and he only did SEO, right? That's a niche industry. It's not legal. It's personal injury within legal, right? Now he's doing $20 million a year in revenue. He scaled this to $10 million a year. Just that one offer with a single position, he scaled that to $10 million a year in revenue. He's now doing over 20 because what he's done, he's opened up to more legal types now. And he's also added pay-per-click on top of that. So he's starting to build, like I said, he's going up market, right? He's opening up the market because he dominated that one vertical, that one market. And once he did that, he established himself as the leader, as the authority. And now he has the authority to easily add on other services. He can go to his clients client base and say, hey, we've gotten all these great results for you. Why don't we do them pay-per-click and just totally explode what you're doing? Or, hey, you're a personal injury attorney. We're now going into immigration law. Do you know any immigration attorneys that you can refer over? We'll give you 20% off your next invoice. That is the right way to do it. You start small and you build, and you go up market over time. The next one is what I call a specialized service, right? So this is just focusing on the offer, right? Content marketing, link building, international SEO, email marketing. And again, I know that I said you shouldn't focus on service, but it's just a starting point, because what you want to then do to also is layer it on these other things, which I'll show you in a second. So an example of this would be somebody like Siege Media, another $10 million agency. They started with just content marketing for B2B. Content, SEO focused content marketing is what it is. And what you'll see here too, and with No BS links too, this is a link vendor, they just do outreach on your behalf, is that you kind of find a niche within the specialized service. So like you look at Siege, for example, right? They weren't just content marketing, general content marketing. They were SEO focused content marketing, right? Another link building agency that comes to mind is it's not just links, it's PR focused link building, right? So it's throwing on a little bit of spice, a little bit of differentiation that allows your offer to naturally pop. And again, we'll talk more about offers, and I don't want you to get caught up on services, but again, SEO or just content marketing is not good enough. You want to specialize and sprinkle a little bit on top of that. And I'll show you how to do a little bit more of that in a second. And then the final one is a productized service. Again, this is actually much more of just a holistic kind of delivery system that we're going to teach you. I'm going to tell you no matter what, you should productize your service. But when you get good enough at this, your productized service then becomes a market positioning in itself. So we have our SEO sprints. Service as a software is another one, like Design Pickle, right? You go to Design Pickle and they just have their service productized so well that you just pay them a monthly fee for unlimited design. Case Study Buddy is probably one of the best examples. A friend of mine, Joel Klecki, amazing copywriter. All they do is case studies for B2B companies. They interview your clients, they write out the case studies, they'll even do video case studies for you with your clients doing interviews. Really, really, really amazing productized service. So what I want to show you too is that like each of these on their own is okay, right? But where this really starts to get lethal is when you start to overlap, right? So you've got industry, which is big, you got niche industry, you got specialized service, and you got productized service. What you want to do is you want to look to combine these. You want to look for the overlaps. You want to look to drill down deeper into each one of these, right? And combining them to really hone out your position. So again, instead of just saying, I'm going to work with attorneys, you can say, I'm going to work with immigration attorneys doing video content creation for a YouTube channel and a podcast, right? That in itself, and again, we'll talk about tying that to outputs in order to acquire new clients or in order to build your brand, in order to establish them as an authority in the space. And what you do is you just drill down, right? That's a productized service within a niche industry, right? Or a specialized service within a niche industry. So again, there's no concrete rules to this. This is just a framework that I've come up with, but what it really is a mental framework. You just start thinking to get the wheels turning in terms of who is it that you could and should be working with? How can you help them? What problems do they have? And what kind of offers can you start to formulate in your head to start to help them solve their problems? So let's keep going through and just look at some examples of really good positioning with agencies. So this is Marie Haynes, mariehaynes.com. She's got a really great specialized service. It's also a productized service. She does what they're called site quality assessments. So what I love about Marie Haynes Consulting is that she really has tied in her positioning with her service and offer. So she started a podcast, she does some YouTube stuff, and she's really known as the penalty recovery kind of expert. She's been able to build herself around that. So when you talk about a specialized service, right? Penalty recovery from Google algorithm updates, right? Anytime Google updates an algorithm, her cash register is ringing because people are like, I need to talk to Marie because she's built her brand, she's built her marketing, she's built her positioning around that. So now what she did is she offered a productized service on top of that for $5,000. She probably cranks these things out with one of her staff in 2 hours, right? And everyone is just funneling into her, right, to do the site quality assessment, which the end goal is all about beating back Google algorithm updates and really understanding what happened. It's a really, really good example in the SEO space of somebody who understood the market position, understood the opportunities in the market and the blue oceans, if you will, and attacked a specialized service, put together a productized service, and really went after that market and does very, very well. It's mariehaynes.com. We already talked about rankings.io. Again, the SEO agency of choice for elite personal injury law firms. You can see this. This is on their header. I believe they've changed their website very recently, either way. But again, very, very clear positioning. You know exactly who they're working for, what they're doing, and who they're helping, right? Personal injury law firms, not attorneys, and not everyone. It's very specific. Another really good example of somebody to check out and follow who's doing this very well. It's the niche industry, as we spoke about. Another good one is Animals. Animals is a B2B content marketing agency. They only do content. They do full done-for-you content, and they only do B2B content. Specifically, they've really skewed into this in the software space because SaaS clients tend to be pretty good for understanding this level of content. And the way that they work too is very simple. It's also a productized service. You basically just buy a package from them. You pay them like $20,000, and then they basically like a draw in terms of a point system in terms of ordering content against it. If it's a case study, if it's blog post, if it's a resource guide, what have you, they sell a big chunk, right? A big portion, and then you just draw against that over time, and they handle all the content creation for you. So again, you can see how they're taking a very specific service for a specific type of client and then also productizing it by putting a lot of framework and parameters around it. That just makes it super easy to sell. You can see here too, high-end content marketing and SEO solutions to startups, VC firms, and enterprise companies. Very clear, very understood. Repurposed House is another good one. This is a productized service. Essentially what they've done is they've really kind of cashed in on almost like Gary Vee's model here of like content repurposing. They basically, what they do is you film one video and then they repurpose it into like 20 different pieces, video, little clips here, what have you. Really good productized service, really good example of attacking a problem, right? Which is, I can't create enough content. I don't have the time. I don't have the editing skills. It's too expensive. They took all those problems and rolled it into a productized service. They crush it. They do very well. They've got a really, really good system here as well. The other one here, this is my agency, Weberus. We do only SEO. Specifically more with B2B clients as well. We don't really work with too many e-commerce. It's a done-for-you productized service. We handle everything for them. Again, our marketing has really gone after just this concept of the problem in the industry of agencies charging retainers, not really knowing what they're doing, wanting to sell a 12-month contract. We've really just flipped it all on its head. We crush it, do over 7 figures a year. Again, there's only 3 people on our team. We do very, very well with it. I wanted to throw this final example in here too for the Blueprint training. Obviously, this video is from the Blueprint training. What we do here is a done-with-you productized service, right? And what I wanted to do here is just getting you thinking in different frameworks too, in terms of how you can deliver your service, right? You don't have to do everything for them, right? So for example, you're here right now. It's quasi-training, quasi-consulting, right? There's so many things that you need to do to start an agency, but we can't do it for you, right? Like I can't pick the position for you, you have to do it. I can't pick the offer for you, you have to do it. So we do this hybrid of training plus coaching and consulting to help you. So it's done with you along the way, and it's productized because it's the same thing over and over again, right? We've got an amazing system to start, grow, scale, and eventually sell agencies. It's such a long process though that we can't do that for you. So just thinking outside the box in terms of how you can deliver it and impacting your clients. Like you as an agency or consultant still have these problems that your clients have too. They're just in different frameworks and capacities, right? So again, really thinking and really putting yourself in their shoes. And the way that we teach this and coach this inside the full Blueprint training, right? And if you're interested, link below, talk to us. We'll help you get set up with it. Is we put you through this workbook. We call it the positioning workbook, where it just asks you a bunch of different questions, talks about your experience, what you enjoy doing, any experience that you've had in terms of business or non-business, any jobs you've had, what you enjoy doing too, because that's really important. And we put you through these systems to flush out different ideas, and then it walks you through this framework of how to eventually turn that into a market positioning and then vet that market positioning as well. And that's something that we walk you through. Again, we have coaches that help you do it. Basically just watch a video on how to fill this out. You fill it out, and then you meet with our coaches one-on-one, and we help you to really flesh out this positioning, which is so important. I mean, this in itself is like, we could charge $500,000 for this, because if you get it right, it's $1 million business, right? And it's going to help you do that every single year. That's everything on market positioning. Again, if you want more help with this, if you want more guidance, if you want to work with our coaches, link below, you can talk to us and we'll help you to actually go through and walk you through. We've also got some more training in there that's much more detailed than when I just put you through. Really drills into these things. The next training series, we're going to talk about building an offer, right? So you've got the fundamentals now, and you got your little business set up. Now you're starting to think through what your market positioning is. Now we have to put together an offer, right? Which is a mechanism to take interested people into clients. We're going to talk about how you can put together an offer that's psychologically impactful, right? That will really help you crush it. And then we'll go into designing a service and putting that all together to start selling it and getting your first client. So I'll see you in the next video.